Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's on Our Screen. I'm Ryan. I've got Caspian here with me to talk about
What a
M. Night
surprise.
Shyamalan's new film, Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah. And kind of giving two sides of it, I actually finished the novel that it was based on by Paul Tremblay, Cabin at the End of the World, before we saw it. So got a little bit of the contrast right
I
there.
didn't know there was a different title.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess it was too long.
Yeah.
And maybe too close to like Cabin in the Woods. Is that the one that's kind of a satire piece?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also the Jennifer Lawrence. It's like Cabin at the End of the Street.
Yeah, the house at the end of the street, I think. Is that right?
Maybe I'm just mashing them together.
There's like a string of like early 2010s like horror movies that have like a really long, complicated title like that.
It's House at the End of the Street. Mm-hmm. So I think they probably just wanted to make it more simpler.
Yeah.
And maybe the title gives away too much.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess before we go into this is going to be a spoiler. I'm going to talk about the book and we're going to talk about the movie. So
yeah,
if you don't want that spoiled, then
by the time this comes out, it's been about 3 weeks.
I know.
Go see it if you haven't seen it. We're going to spoil it. Yeah, I mean we can start there, I guess, with the title and how much it gives away and like the trailer.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of starting to get into before we started recording. Just like I feel like if I had gone in seeing nothing, just like go watch this new M. Night Shyamalan movie, I probably would have liked it a lot more than how much I actually liked it, having seen the trailer and how much is actually given to you in the trailer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, I read the book. So, like, I went in with an idea of what was going to happen, also seeing the trailer. But it's funny. So, like, I finished the movie and I was like, did I like that? Like, I kind of had to ask myself that because I felt like because I had literally finished the book hours before we saw it.
Yeah.
I was, like, very much analyzing, like, the differences. And, like, I feel like the only reason I kind of did that is because the opening scene was like almost like verbatim was like word for word. And so I was like, okay, like let's see like how close it's in. And then it eventually drifted off a decent amount. But so I think I was doing that the whole movie and then I like kind of forgot to like just watch it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're kind of judging the movie based on like what your expectations are from the book. And
yeah,
I've done that a ton. Like I feel like when some of the Marvel movies were first coming out, I had like a like novice understanding of how the story should function from like the comics, and then the movies departed from that, and then I was like, well, Iron Man 3 is garbage. It doesn't follow the comics. The comics are better. And now I'm a more smarter individual.
Yeah.
And have now realized that Iron Man 3 is one of the better Marvel movies.
Gotcha. Nice.
That kind of thing of like if you go in with the expectation of what it's with all adaptation. Is if you go in with the expectation of what it should be and then you don't get that, you're kind of not judging it on its own. You're judging it with the original piece in mind.
Yeah. And I guess like just before we go to like my opinion on just like the book, it was okay. Like in my opinion, I didn't think Tremblay is like the best writer in terms of like I don't know. I just ran into a lot of issues. I feel like there were some continuity issues. I think it's like an interesting concept, but like a concept that you can't really wrap up.
There's no clean way to wrap it up.
Yeah. Which I mean, we'll get into the book ends differently than how the movie ends, but just going into it like this, when I was like watching it and kind of like comparing the two, I wasn't necessarily like, if if the movie kind of went a different route with something, I wasn't like angry about it or anything. I wasn't like, I just was like, that's different, and I'm gonna like keep looking at those. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we can talk through it when we get there. But I'm not sure which ending I like more, and I guess I'll ask you that too when we get there. But
Yeah.
Do we want to give like a brief little summary?
Yeah. You should probably do it because
Yeah. So basically, there is this little girl, Wynn. She has two dads named Andrew and Eric, and they, I believe, live in Massachusetts. I know one, I think, is like a professor. The other is like a lawyer, I believe, or something of that sort.
I think he's like a civil rights lawyer, isn't he?
Yeah. At least they did that in the movie, and I couldn't remember if that was the same in the book. But anyways, they like want to do a little vacation with their daughter. They do it. Both the book and the movie start with Wynn, the little girl. I think she's like 8 or something, and she's like catching grasshoppers, like she's like catching them and putting them in a little jar. This big scary guy comes up and is like trying to be all nice.
Not to interrupt.
No.
Like this opening scene is probably like the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, it is good. In the book and in the movie, they kind of just sit and talk with each other, and the big guy's name is Leonard, and he's basically just like trying to become friends with Wynn. But while Wynn is kind of simultaneously battling, like, this is a stranger, I should go back inside, because her dads were not in the house, but like in the backyard. So she was kind of struggling with this, like, I need to go, but this guy seems nice. But yeah, I did want to ask, like, in the movie, during those scenes, we just had this like huge close up of Wynn, and then I'm blanking on the guy's name, Leonard, but then the actor
Dave Bautista.
Yeah. You said you liked the opening scene. Do you think that contributed to it, or?
Yeah, well, I think Dave Bautista's performance is probably the what's kind of keeping this movie from falling apart.
Yeah, and I'll go into later why I think they changed the ending, just involving him specifically. But also kind of just funny, you were talking about Marvel, and he's very much like not wanting to play his Marvel character anymore, and is like trying to kind of branch out.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the better, like, one of the actors who's like been around for a while, but is now finally gaining the respect of someone who can actually give a really good performance. Like, it seems like this is just like really dialed in. He knows exactly, what the tone should be and how he should play it, and he does it like extraordinarily well.
Yeah. So eventually, Wynn and Leonard, kind of their conversation is, I think Wynn's getting a little bit more uncomfortable and being like, I need to go inside. And especially when she sees 3 other people walk up, like in this little foresty area from afar, and they all have these kind of weird weapons. And Leonard is being weird, and he's like, I need to talk with your dads. You guys are going to have to make a really important decision, a really hard decision. And so she runs away. I'm not going to go like scene by scene, but so essentially these 4 people break into the cabin and essentially tie up the dads and basically tell them that they all were brought together from some prophecy. They had these like visions that brought them together and brought them on a forum, which is that was kind of funny. And they were all brought to this specific cabin because in their visions, this family, and they didn't know what the family was going to be like. They just knew that there was going to be a family at this house. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. Just going to say what you were saying. Yeah. Go ahead.
And so basically Leonard and the 3 other people in the movie, we have Rupert Grant coming back, which I feel like he did a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, they basically say one of the 3 of you, of Wynn, Eric, and Andrew, must sacrifice one and kill that one. I guess we'll get in. I was about to say something, but we can dive into that later. But doing so, sacrificing one of the members of the family would save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And because they believe they were all brought here, and if they don't, the world will end.
Yeah.
And that's essentially it. and so there's this conflict.
Yeah, and that is like all revealed in the trailer, and then that's just kind of how it plays out in the film.
Yeah,
it's just like they tell them they need to make a choice. Every time they refuse to make a choice, they like kill one of their members. Rupert Grint is the first to go, and then
because they so this is, I want to ask you, this didn't make any sense to me. So they
is that something that was in the book as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the longer they took, because the family needed to decide, basically the four had came in knowing if they didn't decide at a certain time, they have to sacrifice one of each other, and not just like a one-time deal. Like every it's kind of, the timeline's kind of obscured, but like every, let's say like, I don't know, few hours, one of them, if the family, if when Eric and Andrew don't make a decision, one of them has to sacrifice themselves, which I don't understand because it didn't do anything.
I think them sacrificing themselves brings on one of the like plagues.
But why, if they're trying to save the end of the world, why would you do that? Yeah,
I think the part of that mystery is sort of playing into the ambiguity of should they believe them or not. Should they believe these like people who have broken into their house and tied them up or not?
Yeah, and Eric and Andrew are constantly trying to figure this out. You know, obviously they're very strong at the beginning. Like, this is, you guys are crazy. You guys need help. Like, or you're a cult. Like all those things. But yeah, I didn't understand that they like needed to sacrifice someone so that it felt like that was progressing the end of the world. But then they were also saying that that's your fault for not. Anyways, I thought that was kind of weird. Also, like in the book, when Redmond dies, it's a lot harder for the four people, or I guess three people, in the cult to like kill him. Like they like it showed Leonard throwing up in the movie after they killed Redmond, I think. But it was like also a really big deal cleaning his body up, like because it was in the middle of the living room, and that took felt like 20 pages cleaning up the room, and I was like, why didn't we just do it outside?
Yeah, they kind of gloss over that in the movie, which is nice. I mean,
yeah.
Is it PG-13? No, it's
R.
R.
No, it's R.
Okay.
How did you? So M. Night was pretty nice, and there was no crazy gore. Like everything was like, when there was about to be gore, it was like, you didn't get a direct shot at it. How did you feel about that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of where his movies usually are. Trying to remember now, is this his only R-rated movie?
I feel like I'm kind of.
I feel like the rest. I feel like he
not, but
usually lives in the PG-13 realm.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like he was probably trying to stick there, and I don't know. The MPAA is really, really weird, so I'm sure they found some sort of problem with it. I did notice they swore a couple of times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's not an easy way to just like look that up. This is riveting podcasting. I don't think so. Maybe The Happening. It'd probably be one of the ones that The Happening is rated R. Yeah, it's probably some of the ones that I just have skipped over because
I'm kind of surprised.
That's good.
Do you know if Old's PG-13? Sorry, I might have already asked that.
That's a good question.
Because while you're looking that
up. It is
up,
PG-13, yeah.
Wow, so that's crazy to me because there's
some really graphic stuff in Old. I would expect it to.
Yeah, especially when I know we're moving movies, but
that's fine.
Like, I don't remember the name, but it was the couple that like I believe the wife or the girlfriend was a lot younger.
Oh yeah.
And she like goes in a cave and then like keeps like keeps like breaking her arms and then healing and then
it's healing faster than it. Yeah. That
I was like, that was rough to watch.
that's just.
But like, and that's where gore is weird because like that didn't have any blood, and I think that's why they're like, it's PG-13. Like there was no blood. But I'm like, bone breaking. I'm sorry. Like sometimes worse. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, we can kind of jump into a larger M. Night conversation a little bit later. I just wanted to like kind of have a little bit more about Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah.
If you had more.
Yeah, there was like a couple things where like in the movie Wynn eventually like tries to run away.
Mm-hmm.
That does not happen. I feel like that was just to insert a jump scare.
Yeah.
Because Leonard like comes around and like grabs her. Which, you know, that's whatever. There is like talk of it, like Andrew tries to get her to like run away because she's not tied up or anything. But she just like doesn't want to. But anyways, also regarding some differences, so eventually, I believe it's Andrew, he identifies Redman as potentially being someone that had pretty much like assaulted him, like with like hitting him with a beer bottle in a bar, because he was with another man or because he was gay. So as soon as he kind of made that connection that Redman was that guy in the bar, he immediately made the assumption that like this isn't some cult thing. This isn't like you guys don't really believe this. You're just trying to like, you know, torture like a homosexual couple. So those things were very different from the book and from the movie because in the movie we do eventually learn that Redman was like Oberon or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
The thing is, and I think this was similar. I think I wrote like somewhere in like when I was reading the book, like how does he not know what he looks like?
It seems like he was hit from behind.
Yeah, but then he said he like went to court and stuff and like did time. I'm just saying, like, I would assume he's...
Well, I think he mentions that, like, he has, like, a beard and he's, like, thinner.
I still feel like if someone traumatized you like that... Because he talks about how, like, what a significant part in his life that was. Like, it shows him, like, you know, one of the big things is that he like, you know, starts working out, starts, like, knowing how to fight, then, like, gets his gun license. So I'm just saying, like, you have all this motivation and you don't remember the face.
Yeah, it does seem weird. But I think you were telling me that in the book it's not explicit that they're the same person.
It's not.
And I think it's almost better that way. That it's left ambiguous because the whole tension of the film is like whether to believe these people or not. And if it's like if you don't know, then it's just like another like hole in their story.
Yeah.
And this makes it feel like him explicitly being that person gives more weight to like Andrew and Eric's point of view where it's like, oh, they must be like making this up and this is just like a targeted thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Leonard is also like a lot nicer, I would say, like in the book. Like even in that instance when Andrew like realizes that was potentially like I think it's Oberon. I hope I don't keep saying it
like
wrong.
O'Bannon or something.
O'Bannon. I remember in the book, he's like, look, I believe you. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, we didn't know him until right now. And kind of even, because this is after Redman had died, and it's Leonard, is it Adrian and Sabrina? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, like, he always kind of seemed off. Like, we're like, sorry, like, this is not like a hate thing at all, which is like kind of funny when you're like, oh, we don't care that you guys are gay at all. Like
we're just here to make you make a choice. Yeah.
Whereas like Leonard in the movie, when that's brought up, he's like, it doesn't matter. He's like he's very like just adamant of like it doesn't matter. Whereas like in the book, they had left their like wallets and stuff like at a truck far away, and so he was like, "Look, like we can't look right now. Like we're not gonna go check." But he's like, "I believe you." So he's like apologizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. A few things to note. Well, one continuity thing. So I think it was the first kind of phase of like the world ending after they sacrificed Redmond, when like there was like a tsunami coming, and it like they turned on the news, and it was like found footage.
Yeah.
And the person filming gets swallowed by the water.
How did? Yeah. I was thinking.
How'd they get that footage?
Yeah.
Also, just like all the CGI on the news station looks so bad. At least I felt.
I mean, I'm sure this is. What is this? Is this Universal? I think. Yeah, there was the big Universal logo. So I'm sure they had like the funding for it, because it's like a really small production. It's like all in one cabin for the most part. There's like a couple of little stuff that's like outside of the cabin.
They do a couple flashbacks and stuff. But yeah, well, and maybe I'm being a little stingy, but I'm like, that you couldn't have done like a helicopter view?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, it kind of blows my mind that no one would think of that.
Well, I think M. Night's wanted to do, because he's like done the disaster movie with like The Happening.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's just like some of that, like,
it doesn't matter.
Still bleeding in. Yeah.
Did you like his cameo?
I think, was it me? I think it was like me and you were like laughing.
Yeah.
He came on the TV, and then everyone else in the theater was just like silent, and we were like, no, it's funny. That's M. Night.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. He just is like basically like a salesperson on like kind of. Is it like a QBC? Like, I don't know how to properly.
He's like a guest on like a daytime TV like talk show, or like a cooking channel.
Just where like you're selling something.
Yeah, it's like selling like something to make like fried chicken or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was funny. His little cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you okay with me like going towards the end? And
oh yeah, because I think the ending is the big.
Yeah.
thing.
So I'll go with the movie first, and like just to like establish it. M. Night definitely went for like the more, I'd say like just universally like friendly ending, or I guess like just ones that won't make people sad.
Yeah. The more optimistic ending, I guess. Yeah.
But so essentially, trying to think. So they kill off Adrian because they ran out of time and they had to sacrifice another one, which that doesn't happen in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sabrina runs inside, and then
they escape. They get out of their like holds. And is it Eric or Andrew?
Andrew's the one that
Andrew runs to the car,
which has a case with his gun in it.
Mm-hmm. Kind of gets away. Sabrina tries to stop him. He like fires like a warning shot at her.
Mm-hmm.
She runs away. Seemingly runs away.
I think he tried to hit her. I mean, at least in the book, he tried to hit her.
It seemed like it was like off to the side, and she just like backed up. So, he goes back into the house to stop Leonard and save Eric and Wen. And while they're like having that confrontation, Sabrina like comes running into the house and he shoots her.
Yeah. So then that leaves only Leonard. And Leonard basically they start to actually see stuff happening. Like, one of the things Leonard said at the very beginning was like the third thing or whatever that would contribute to the world ending is like the sky would fall, and then eventually, after I think Sabrina had died, they like turn on the news and they see all these like, it says like 700 flights like have crashed, and then like they even start seeing like planes crashing outside and stuff. So they start to kind of be like, maybe this.
They start to actually see the stuff that's happening in the outside world.
So they start to be like, maybe this is real. And Leonard's like, hey, it's my time to go. Please make a decision. You still have time. Then kills himself, and then they had told when to go to like a tree house, which doesn't seem safe to be outside when planes are falling. But
yeah, and then it's just like raining, and then there's like thunder everywhere. It's like treehouse is not the place to be.
Yeah, but anyways, Eric and Andrew go in the house, and they're like, Andrew still is kind of like on the side of like, let's go, like let's get out of here, and then Eric's like, no, this is real.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, it was pretty good acting, or like just writing, in the sense of like when he started being like, Eric was 100% being like, kill me, like I'm okay, like I've accepted that, like I'm at peace. And then he was saying like, kill him, like while he's like thinking about like all the great things that Wynn's gonna do in her life. And I was like, okay, that was like pretty emotional. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I've seen where someone's like, kill me while I'm like thinking this really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, whoa.
Yeah.
But so Andrew ends up shooting Eric, and then it just shows Andrew going up to the treehouse there where Wynn is at, and they just kind of sit and cry together. And then they eventually, because the four people had slashed the tires of their car, they like had to walk a ways and found the truck that they came in. They go to like some diner that's like somewhat nearby, and they see everyone watching the news, and like they basically like see like all these people that were like about to die like didn't, and
all the bad things like have magically stopped.
Yeah.
Like the tsunami waves have just like gone back, and they've just like turned
Reverse.
around and are like, we're going back out to the ocean now. The planes like actually start landing instead of crashing to the ground.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the second thing. Oh, it was like a virus that was like getting really bad.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, and so everyone's like
Everyone's okay.
Everyone's fine now. Yeah.
So everyone was like in the diners, like getting calls, like they're like, I'm okay. So they, Wynn and Andrew are just kind of looking at each other like they did it. They saved the world. And that's kind of the ending. I mean, there's kind of like a sweet moment in the car, I guess, when they like play the song that they like had come to the cabin listening to.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, close.
Yep.
You feel okay. You feel kind of sad, but you're like, they saved the world.
I feel like that's probably the most satisfying an ending you can get out of this.
Yeah.
Because, and I imagine you're going to want to go into how the book handles it now. Because it seems like the book handles it in a way that is like not satisfying.
Yeah.
Like this is like
Yeah.
just going to be depressing. And I feel like M. Night probably wanted to shy away from that. He's not really the type to like end it on a low note.
Yeah, for sure. So now going to the book. So actually Leonard is not the last one to survive. I did want to note before talking about the book, there's a period when Leonard's the only one, and and he like hides in the bathroom, or they try and lock him in the bathroom so they can leave.
Yeah.
And then they like hear after they like lock the door behind him, which I don't even know how that really works.
Yeah.
Or I think they just tied him up or something, maybe. I don't know. Somehow they locked him in the bathroom and were like getting ready to leave. When Andrew and Eric were like getting ready to leave because like there's only one left, so like we can just leave now. And then they hear like a window break, and so then they're like, did he just get out like of the bathroom window? And then Eric or Andrew like has the gun and like hesitantly like opens the door, and then the window was broken, and we were in the theater, and I was like, there's no way he fit through that. Like it was like a little circle.
It's a little like tiny circular window, and Dave Bautista is like one of the like widest, biggest people I've ever seen. We were both laughing. Like, there's no way he crawled out that window.
But
turns out he didn't.
Yeah. And then like even we don't have to go too much into this, but then Andrew actually just randomly shoots at like the I want to say
the shower curtain.
Yeah, I was gonna say sheets for some reason. The shower curtain, and actually hits him, but it doesn't affect him at all, and he like still tackles Andrew.
It's a big guy.
Yeah.
I think that's my answer.
Yeah. Took a bullet like nothing. But anyways, that was all I wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the book. So Adrian is actually the one. So when the whole car scene happens, when Andrew is trying to get the gun, Sabrina comes out trying to stop him. She like kind of has a weapon and is like hitting his leg. When Andrew shoots at her, she just takes off running into the forest. So then Andrew comes back in with the gun. Leonard and Adrian are in there. I really hope her name is Adrian.
It is.
Okay.
Or you're mispronouncing it. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's I think it's Adrian, yes.
Okay.
That is how I am reading it off of IMDb. I don't remember how they pronounced it. Yeah.
But anyway, so it's Leonard and Adrian that are in the house or in the cabin, and they see Andrew with the gun, and they're like, "Oh no!" So Adrian is actually the one that bolts at him with a knife, and Andrew just shoots her. And so then he like points the gun to shoot Leonard, and while he's trying to shoot him, Leonard just comes up and like they like get in like a fight. He's trying to like grab the gun, and I think like Andrew's like fingers are still on the trigger, and so Leonard like squeezes his hands, and the gun goes off, and they shoot Wynn, and she dies. And so then there's this whole Leonard is immediately like, I'm so sorry, like, because his main job was that he couldn't interfere with their sacrifice. Like, it had to be a consensual thing. Like, they all had to agree who would die in the family. So like he's like, I messed up, and then also he's like, well, he also didn't want her to die. He like wanted it to be Eric or Andrew. So he just is like on the ground like saying like, I'm so sorry, and like Andrew just starts like beating him up, and like tries to put the gun on his head and pull the trigger, but he was out of bullets. So then, they kind of my issue with the book is it happened really suddenly, and like I honestly was like, well, wait, like it didn't. I thought it was weird that when she died, we got more of the perspective of Leonard than like the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like I really only understood what happened after Leonard was like, I'm so sorry, and I'm like, and maybe that's to say like they were in shock or something, but I just thought that was kind of weird. But then Leonard goes on to be like, I don't think that counts. Sorry. Like,
so we're gonna have to choose still. Yeah.
And I think Eric is like, she doesn't count. She doesn't count. Like, getting like it's a weird thing to say, but like he's like, well, if she were to count for anything, she should count for that.
Yeah.
So that's the weird thing, and he keeps being like, you guys gotta still make a decision. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it had to be this way. Sabrina comes back and is like, okay, this is too much. Like, Wynn shouldn't have died. And then she kind of starts being like, I don't think this is real anymore. Like, I'll help you guys go home. And she is actually the one, if I'm remembering correctly, she kills Leonard just like with her weapon. And is basically like, I'll help you, like, guys get to the truck. Like, you're not going to be able to find, like, even if you find the truck, you're not going to be able to find the keys because we, like, dug a hole and hid them. So, like, you guys wouldn't be able to escape. So she's like, I'll take you there. Just, like, please trust me. And they're, like, obviously, like, distraught and being like, there's no way you're going to help us. Like, you contributed to, like, our daughter dying. So she's like, no, like, I'll help you. So then they, like, go out, walk. It starts storming, and there's also still in the book there's reference of the news, like there's reference of like the like water rising, and like a virus breaking out, but Andrew keeps being like, that's stuff that just already happens, like it's not like it happened today, and regarding like the skies falling, they did turn on the news at one point and like only like 7 planes or something had crashed, so it's like weird, but like not like, oh my god, the world's ending. So they were still like, skeptical of it. But so all that to say is like it never felt like the world was for sure ending. So they like finally get to the car keys and like to the truck that the 4 people had come in, and while Sabrina was pulling out like a little bag that they buried with the keys, there was also a gun in it. And so she's like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm not, like, I literally did not even know this was in here, like, Leonard or Redmond must have put it in here. Like, she's like, I'm not trying to pull anything on you. And they're like, I think Andrew still has his gun, so he's, like, pointing at her as well, and there's, like, this whole conflict. And then in the book we get, it switches perspective, and we get a lot of Sabrina's perspective and how, essentially, everything that has happened has been out of her control. Like, she says, like, even how she, like, met up with these people, she, like, sometimes would, like, she tried to avoid, like, she tried to, like, miss her flight, but then the next thing she knew, she was, like, in a taxi car, like, going to her flight. So, like, she basically was saying that she has not had control. Like, they're essentially stating that there's, like, this supernatural presence that is making me do this. And eventually she, like, puts the gun to her head, and she, like, even talks about in her thoughts about how it's not her doing it. And then she dies. Like, she pulls the trigger. And so then we didn't really get into Eric's injury, but he gets a concussion at the beginning, so he's kind of a little spotty at times, and also because he's a little bit, I guess, maybe nicer, but also that might be the result of his concussion. He's a little bit more vulnerable, and so the 4 people especially were trying to, like, target him just because they thought that he'd be easier to convince rather than Andrew. But so Sabrina dies, and it's just Eric and Andrew, and they have a moment where they're like, do you, like, they, like, kind of consult each other, and it is weird. They have a big fight of, like, while they're walking to find the keys, of Eric kind of starts to be like, what if this is real? And Andrew, like, goes off on him and is like, there's no way this is real, like, just giving all these reasons. And I don't know if this should just show that they're, like, maybe he was putting on a persona when in actuality he was kind of thinking the same things as Eric. But so after Sabrina dies and they're sitting there with a gun, they're, like, contemplating whether to kill one of each other. And I thought that just, like, after they, like, just had a fight about, like, Andrew being like, that is the stupidest thing in the world. So they keep being like, no, you do it, no, you do it, no, you do it. And then they were like, let's not do it. And they also were, like, carrying Wynn in, like, a sheet the whole time. And then they just go to the car and drive away. And that's it.
And that's the end.
Yeah.
See, this is... I feel like you told me this after we walked out, and still now I'm like,
yeah.
What do you want from, like, what are you supposed to glean from that? Like, I don't
know. I think it's just supposed to be a psychological kind of stressor. Like in the sense of, like, I don't know. It makes you question whether, like, could something like this really happen? In the sense of, like, the world not really ending, I guess, or I don't know. I guess I'm trying to explain it, and I'm not doing a very good job.
No. You do a fine job of explaining it. I just, like,
I think
I understand the decision to not go the route of that ending and try and find some sort of, like, emotional way to end it.
Yeah. But I'm like, I mean, I guess we're not supposed to be left with knowing if the world will end or if it won't. But, yeah, what do you have a dead daughter now and you can't really explain what happened? I mean, I guess you can to the police, but, like, It's, like, still just weird. But so, do you think you're siding where you like M. Night's ending more?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel. It's hard when that was the initial ending of the story for me, and then, like, seeing M. Night's, and when me and Cloris were on our way, I turned to her and I was like, how much do you want to, like, I was like, do you think M. Night will kill off Wynn? I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just because it's a kid, and, like, I just don't think killing off kids happens a whole lot in film. I feel like because it's in literature, it's a little bit easier, which sounds bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm having a hard time with like I don't. Well, I don't know. I was about to say like I don't strongly like dislike either ending. Like I feel like I appreciate that both exist. Like I kind of like the ambiguity of just not knowing and constantly not knowing. But then it starts. I'm like, well, is that kind of poor storytelling if there's no real conclusion? But I think that's obviously up for interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like that they're different, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Just to like broaden out the conversation to like a larger M. Night Shyamalan conversation. Had you? What's kind of your relationship with his movies up to this point?
I have, I've seen Old, I've seen Signs,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen The Sixth Sense. I think that's about it.
Okay.
So kind of, I mean, I feel like those are kind of his main ones. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'd throw.
I've seen Old too. Sorry.
I think you mentioned.
Oh, did okay.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, computer did something weird. The other big ones that are like of note is Unbreakable, and it's like kind of sequel Split in Glass. Just because I feel like Unbreakable is the one that it's like the follow up to The Sixth Sense, which was so like big and career making, that it's impressive that he was able to make something almost as good. Mm-hmm. Like it's not as good, but it's still like up there and like a really thoughtful film that's engaging with our current superhero, oversaturated superhero film.
Yeah.
Media world that we're living in before it even existed.
Yeah.
And then I think The Village is another one that people point to as like, oh, it's a classic, Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan like twist movie. And then there's like the Fall, where there's just a couple of bad ones all in a row.
What years are
it's The Lady in the Water in 2006, which is like an original story based on a fairy tale that he wrote.
Okay.
Apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently it's just really, really weird.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. People really don't like The Happening. That's in 2008. His Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptation is terrible. I tried. I watched.
And you really like just the original animation.
Yeah. I finally like sat down and watched the series from beginning to end when COVID like started, like spring 2020-ish is when I finally, and then after I got done I was like, let me check out this adaptation, like how bad, like, because I remember it being bad, which usually like when you're a kid and you watch something and you're like, this is kind of not good, it's usually means it's not good. Like if you can recognize as a kid that like this is not good, it's not good. I made it like 15 minutes and it was like absolutely not, turned it off.
Gotcha.
And then he makes After Earth, which is like a sci-fi movie starring Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think I've actually seen that. I feel like I maybe saw it like at the Dollar Movie.
Yeah, and then he sort of comes back with The Visit and Split are like two really big like financial successes and like good movies. And he's kind of just been on an upward swing since then.
I don't know anything about Glass. I feel like I remember when it came out, but
yeah, Glass was big because it's like a sequel to Split and Unbreakable.
Interesting.
So people were like excited about it. I was excited about it, and it's like fine.
I think I've never. I remember just there was the whole. Is this depicting people with like split personality disorder poorly?
Yes. The answer is yes. But it's meant to be, it's meant to be science fiction-y. And it's like it's not trying to be realistic in that sense, because it's supposed to be like in a superhero world. So
interesting.
That's kind of one of the situations where it's like, I give this a pass because it's not trying to realistically portray it in the first place.
I got you. My boy Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah. James McAvoy. And then I recently watched Old and loved it. I think Old is probably one of his best movies.
I'm down to talk about it. I did not have the same reaction.
Really?
I didn't dislike it. I saw it in theaters and was like, that was a decent movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I rewatched it this last year and was just like, maybe less than a decent. Again, like, I think he has really interesting concepts that are like impossible to end.
So this is Old is another one that's based on.
Is it based on?
It's based on like a comic book.
Oh, interesting.
And he just kind of like picked out like the idea, and then just like ran with that. Like, there's a beach that makes you old.
Yeah.
Like that's
and
that's really all the I think actual stuff that he's pulling from the comic. Everything else is just his. And it kind of seems like that's what he did with Knock at the Cabin as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's 4 people, they show up,
mm-hmm.
they're saying the world is going to end, and it kind of seems like after like the first half an hour-ish, he kind of departs from the book.
Yeah.
From the explanation that you gave.
Yeah. Which I do think it's interesting that he's still was trying to like tip his hat for the people that did read the book, because like I will literally like I said, like it was a lot of stuff was like word for word at the beginning. I was like, how close is this gonna be? But that might have just been a little bit like tipping the hat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with Old, I thought the like concept was really interesting. I don't know. For some reason, I maybe it just was like the acting was, maybe not the greatest thing in the world. And maybe I felt like, I guess I wanted more. I wanted to know. Well, I guess they did give an explanation, because I'm gonna spoil it.
Go for it.
The explanation is that it was like, I guess, a research area for people with specific diseases, so they could see how they like age and progress. So I don't know. So that would provide some scientific information. But why bring their whole family? I mean, I guess there's no other way to get everyone there.
And why are you doing there's like a whole bunch of like logistical questions of like why. I mean, like, one of the like scientists at the end like brings it up of like, we shouldn't be mixing the mental health patients and the other patients in the same batch. And it's like, that might be a good idea.
I don't know. I'm trying to think, because it was interesting. I don't think I hated it or disliked it by any means, but I just think it was like just super suspenseful and then kind of just end.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, I liked that it had like a twist to it, and things were explained at the end of like why all this stuff was happening. There's not like an explanation of like, this is why the beach makes them old.
Yeah. But
there is like this is why they're here. This is why they specifically were chosen to be on that beach.
But do you think...
I think the ideas in Old are a bit more easy to pull out than Knock at the Cabin.
Do you think the beach itself kind of had that effect of not being able to leave it, or is that something the science-y people added?
Well, I think they said they explain it in the movie, and it's like really like they try and like complicate it more than they need to.
Okay.
I guess it's like if you try and leave the beach, like,
are they trying to relate it to with the aging?
Yeah, it was like
I wonder if it's like the scuba thing, like when you go scuba diving.
That's how they explained
it. You can't fly. Because that'll like mess with stuff.
Yeah, they kind of explained it in that way.
In terms of like
if you're like
elevation,
diving, Yeah, you can't go down because then like the pressure will build up in you.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of how they explained it.
I didn't remember that.
But there was like some sort of like, oh, it's your cells. They don't like it when you like, I don't know. Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily make sense because the main character climbs at one, or a character tries to climb at one point. And they were able to get decently far. They did end up having...
But they're going up, not...
So you think...
So they're still, like, on the beach.
Okay, so you're saying going away is doing something rather than, like, going up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Word. Did you get a chance to watch Signs?
No.
Really good.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. It's
I wanted to kind of catch up on Signs and The Visit, because those are the two that are like the good ones that I haven't made it around to yet of his filmography.
Haven't seen The Visit. Signs is really good. I would say probably my favorite movie of his. It's
better than The Sixth Sense?
I think The Sixth Sense is really good and has a lot of really good scares. But every time I watch it, I feel like it's so long. Yeah. Like, I get bored.
I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't.
I watched it sometime
I feel
last
like
year.
I can't defend it.
I for sure enjoy it, but for some reason, every time I watched it, it feels really long. And I think maybe it's just the style of like.
It just might. I think.
Well,
if I remember correctly, it just moves a little bit slower than some of his other ones. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes. It's really short. I mean, most of his movies are like an hour 30, hour 40.
Yeah, I was about to like say something like maybe just is how movies were made at the time, but Signs is 3 years later. So.
Yeah.
But Signs is really a good clash of like suspense and comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like there's one of my favorite. Actually, I won't say it if you haven't seen it. I won't spoil it, but really funny scene that like lives rent free in my head. And Joaquin Phoenix just really good.
Well, I'd encourage you to check out Unbreakable. I think that's the one that that people don't. That was like overlooked at its time, but people have come around on and been like, "This one's really good."
Yeah. Okay. I'll add it to the list. I've been trying to watch The Village for a while, and it just hasn't been streaming anywhere.
Yeah, it's not. Library might have a copy. I've been pulling stuff from the library here.
Just to get like on DVD?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think about that. I should.
Yeah, I watched we've just completely left.
Yeah.
I watched Old Boy for the first time. That was something.
I don't know what that
Let me tell you. It's a film by Korean director named Park Chan-wook. The film Wes was talking about yesterday, Decision to Leave, same director.
Gotcha.
But it's one of his earlier films. It's one of the like bigger early 2000s Korean film that like that and Bong Joon-ho's like Memories of Murder came out in like the same year, like a year apart, and it was like a big what's the word? Just like a big showing from the Korean film industry that was kind of both of their breakout films.
Yeah.
Was Old Boy and Memories of Murder. But I heard good things. I knew there was like a notorious like fight scene, and then there was like another scene that I'd heard of for like the visual effects in it. So I was kind of looking for those two things, but also just had never seen it and wanted to see it. Woo! Is there a lot going on in that one?
Got you.
Yeah, and then I caught up on some classic Michelle Yeoh film, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, one of Ang Lee's films, and it was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is a you started your little series about Kane flicks, and I feel like now we're just shouting out the library.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess like, and I don't know if you have more you want to talk about, but maybe some if you're wanting to get towards the end. I was just gonna ask, like, I know you've kind of voiced your opinion a little bit, but like, would you say you liked Knock at the Cabin, and would you recommend it?
I'm I don't know. I not really sure if I liked it or not yet. Would I recommend it? Sure. I think people would like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good just kind of like horror suspense that's not super graphic. Or
I feel
anything.
like the less it's one of the movies where actually like the less you know, the better. Like if you go into it, I maybe that's just like the problem is that.
So you say that
like,
after we do a whole podcast.
Yeah, I know.
No, you're good.
But I'm just thinking maybe the problem is like when there's a new M. Night Shyamalan movie coming out, it should just be like a given that like if you go into it knowing less, like it's going to be better if you just go in with no expectations.
Yeah. Valid.
So maybe I'll like watch it again in like a year, and maybe then I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
But right now it's like I don't know yet.
I think I liked it. For some reason, I feel like I had a little bit more resentment from the book, just in its structure, and it felt maybe a little longer than it should be, and I feel like there wasn't a really end goal in sight, and it was kind of a little bit rushed at the end. Whereas, like, I think the movie had a direct goal, and they obviously took it a more digestible path. But I 100% was not like annoyed or anything. Like there was maybe like I remember there's a few scenes at the beginning where I was like, I felt bad, but I felt like Wynn's acting was kind of bad. And
see, I thought the opposite.
Well, so after I would say. There was one specific scene where I felt that, and it was like when she ran to get her dad sour in the backyard porch.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, hurry, come inside.
I think that's like just like how kids are, though.
No, and I'm not trying to be like they should be. It's literally a kid. So many times when I'm watching horror movies and there's a kid, I'm like, do you know what's happening? Like, are you okay? Like,
yeah, I was thinking, like, when I was leaving it, that, like, man, I thought Wen did, like, that actress did a really good job. And I think that's probably just M. Night having worked with so many child actors throughout his career. He's gotten a good handle on, like, how to direct them. Mm-hmm. Because it seems like, well, I mean, obviously the Haley Joel Osment performance in The Sixth Sense. But I feel like there's been some other kid performances that he's, like, really gotten something good out of.
Yeah.
Than when usually.
I mean, there's kid performance in Old.
Oh yeah.
For a period.
for a little bit before they get old.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I liked it. I mean, not the greatest movie in the world, but decent.
Yeah.
A solid decent.
Yep.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
Cool. That's kind of it for today.
Yeah, hope that was entertaining. If anyone didn't want to read the book and was curious on how it's different, then there you go.
There you go.
I did it for you.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right. See you.